What if the next great romance in Port Charles is the one no one saw coming? That's the question quietly taking shape in General Hospital, as subtle shifts between Jack and Nina begin to feel less like coincidence and more like intention. It's not obvious. It's not confirmed. But it's there, in the pauses, in the tension, in the way they seem to understand each other just a little too well. And if this really is the beginning of something, it could change everything. Is General Hospital setting up a Jack and Nina romance? In Port Charles, romance rarely arrives with clear signals. It doesn't announce itself with certainty or follow predictable patterns. Instead, it builds in fragments, moments that feel small on their own, but when connected, begin to form something larger. That's exactly what appears to be happening with Jack and Nina. At first glance, the idea feels unexpected, perhaps even unlikely. But soap storytelling thrives on unexpected pairings, the kind that challenge character dynamics, disrupt existing relationships, and introduce emotional complexity that keeps audiences engaged. So the question isn't just whether a romance is forming, it's why now, and what it means if it is. The foundation. Two complicated characters. To understand the potential pairing, it's important to look at who Jack and Nina are individually. Both are characters shaped by emotional history, personal loss, complex relationships, a need for control in unpredictable environments. They are not simple personalities. They don't operate in clean emotional spaces. And that complexity is precisely what makes the possibility of a connection between them intriguing. Because relationships built on simplicity are easy. Relationships built on complexity, those are the ones that drive drama. The subtle shift in their interactions. The groundwork for any soap romance begins subtly, not with declarations, but with changes. In Jack and Nina's case, those changes appear in the way conversations linger slightly longer than necessary, the presence of emotional understanding beneath surface dialogue, a noticeable shift from neutral interaction to something more charged. These are not overt romantic signals, but they are not neutral either. They exist in a gray space, the same space where many iconic soap pairings begin. Chemistry, the unspoken element. Chemistry in soap storytelling doesn't always rely on physical closeness or overt attraction. Often it manifests as emotional alignment, mutual recognition, a sense of being understood. Jack and Nina seem to share moments of connection that go beyond basic interaction. There is an ease between them, but also tension, and that combination is significant because ease creates comfort and tension creates intrigue. Together, they create possibility. Why this pairing works, narratively. From a storytelling perspective, pairing Jack and Nina makes sense for several reasons. 1. Emotional complexity. Both characters bring depth, making their interactions layered rather than predictable. 2. Potential conflict. A relationship between them would not be smooth. It would come with misunderstandings, external pressures, and internal struggles. 3. Narrative disruption. Introducing a new pairing disrupts existing dynamics, something soaps rely on to keep storylines fresh. 4. Audience engagement. Unexpected pairings spark discussion, speculation, and emotional investment. This is not just about romance, it's about narrative movement. The role of timing. Timing is critical in soap storytelling. A pairing might make sense, but if the timing is wrong, it won't resonate. So why now? Several factors could be aligning. Both characters may be in transitional emotional states. Existing relationships may be shifting or ending. The narrative may be preparing for a new long-term arc. Timing creates opportunity, and opportunity is where relationships begin. Emotional vulnerability as a catalyst. One of the strongest indicators of potential romance is vulnerability. Characters don't connect deeply unless they reveal something real. In recent interactions, both Jack and Nina show glimpses of that vulnerability. Moments of honesty, emotional openness, a willingness to engage beyond surface-level conversation. These moments are small, but they are significant, because vulnerability creates connection, and connection creates possibility. The risk factor. No soap romance is complete without risk, and this potential pairing carries plenty of it. Emotional baggage from both sides. External judgment from other characters. Possible conflicts of interest or loyalty. These risks are not obstacles, they are narrative fuel, because conflict drives engagement, and engagement sustains storylines. Audience perception and speculation. Part of what makes this storyline compelling is that it hasn't been explicitly confirmed. It exists in suggestion, and suggestion invites speculation. Viewers begin to ask, are we seeing something real or reading too much into it? Is this intentional or coincidental? Is the show testing audience reaction? This uncertainty keeps the audience involved, because they are not just watching the story, they are interpreting it. The power of what if. Soap storytelling often thrives on what if. What if these two characters connect? What if their differences create something unexpected? What if their shared experiences lead to something deeper? Jack and Nina represent a strong what if scenario, one that challenges expectations, and that challenge is what makes it compelling. Potential outcomes. If this pairing is indeed being set up, several narrative paths could emerge. Chapter 1. Slow burn romance. Gradual development with tension building over time. 2. Emotional misfire. A connection that almost happens but is interrupted by external forces. 3. Full relationship arc. A committed storyline that explores their dynamic in depth. 4. Catalyst relationship. A temporary connection that triggers growth or conflict in other areas. Each outcome serves a different narrative purpose, and each keeps the story moving. Why subtlety matters. One of the strengths of this storyline is its subtlety. Nothing is rushed, nothing is forced. Instead, the show allows moments to breathe, interactions to evolve naturally, audience interpretation to play a role. This approach builds anticipation, and anticipation is key to engagement. The emotional stakes. If Jack and Nina do move toward romance, the emotional stakes will be high because both characters carry history, and history complicates connection. Their relationship would not exist in isolation. It would be influenced by past decisions, existing relationships, external perceptions, and that complexity would shape every interaction. Why this storyline resonates. This potential arc resonates because it reflects real emotional dynamics, unexpected connections, the unpredictability of attraction, the influence of timing and circumstance, the tension between logic and emotion. It's not just about romance, it's about possibility. Final thoughts. Is General Hospital setting up a Jack and Nina romance? The answer isn't definitive, but the signs are there, in the tension, in the connection, in the subtle shifts that suggest something more beneath the surface. Whether it develops into a full storyline or remains a fleeting possibility, one thing is clear. This dynamic has the potential to change the emotional landscape of Port Charles, because sometimes the most compelling stories aren't the ones that are confirmed. They're the ones that are just beginning to take shape.